Young and the Restless. Sally should dump Billy and get with this guy. Young and the Restless sees Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, dating Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, but to me, it doesn't feel like a soulmate situation. We're thinking Sally should cut Billy loose and get a new man or go back to an old one. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to discuss which guy we think Sally should slide into her life to replace Billy Boy. But hey, hit that subscribe button before we get into it. Young and the Restless. Billy and Sally fizzle out? Alright, so Sally's with Billy right now, but it just doesn't feel like lasting love. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I'm not seeing it. Let's face it, Billy, so far in his life has been nobody's happily ever after. He's been with a lot of women: Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinle, Chelsea Lawson Newman, Melissa Claire Egan, Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, Heather Stevens, Vale Bloom, Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, and Mackenzie Browning, Kelly Kruger, just to name a few. There's more than that. And many of these ships blew up because Billy just cannot curb his worst impulses. I mean, he's not always to blame for the breakups, like with what happened with him and Chelsea since she cheated with Adam Newman, Mark Grossman. But overall, I would say more often than not, Billy is to blame for when his relationships implode. And I will say, with Sally, that Billy is doing pretty well right now. And to give him full credit, he was a good boyfriend to Chelsea before she cheated. And Billy has gone from co-commiserator with Sally, to being a good friend to now being a pretty good boyfriend. So far Billy hasn't been bad to her, but he's a pretty erratic guy, and that's why most of the time things don't work out for him romantically. So we're going to talk about some other romantic options for Sally if she decides to dump Billy or he does something to blow up their relationship. Could Sally reunite with Nick on Young and the Restless? Alright, the first possibility we have is one of Sally Spectra's Genoa City exes, Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow. He is single as a Pringle. He has been for a long time since he and Sally split. And just recently, he lied to his sister Victoria. He totally punked her and viewers and said he had eloped and remarried Sharon in Europe. And that really ticked off a lot of chic fans who had been waiting on a reunion. Got them all excited for literally just a minute. And then Nick let everybody down and he revealed he was pulling Victoria's leg. Totally not cool. Anyway, Nick's single and he does have a complicated but very loving relationship with Sally. I thought they were great together. Their only problem was Adam and the fact that Sally wasn't completely over Adam. Plus, Sally being pregnant with his baby was kind of awkward and it was just really bad timing for Nick and Sally because in the end, Adam was the main roadblock. But I think if Sally and Nick tried again, they could work because I do think she is well and truly over Adam. And just as Nick told Victoria, it looks like he and Sharon are going to stick to the friend zone. And let's face it, Sally's not in love with Billy. Not yet. And I hope she doesn't fall because, they're not that serious. And I just don't think you can take him seriously. So if they split, I don't think Sally would fall apart. And many fans would love to see Nick and Sally reunite and see her getting away from Billy Boy. Adam Newman and Sally Spectra. A potential Young and the Restless reunion? Alright. Number 2 to talk about, of course, is Adam. If a reunion between Sally and Nick isn't in the cards, maybe they'll do one for Sally and Adam. And of course, he's happily back with Chelsea right now. But there's a pretty big faction of Young and the Restless fans that do not like Adam and Chelsea together. To me it seems forced. And if you recall, literally, Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, nagged and nagged at Adam, basically forcing him to give it a shot, and then Adam nagged and nagged at Chelsea before she agreed to give it a shot. So, it just doesn't feel organic. And for many fans, the chemistry between Adam and Sally was a lot better than with Adam and Chelsea. Plus, Adam and Chelsea are bickering over Billy right now because Chelsea doesn't want Victor and Adam to attack Billy. Chelsea's made it clear she'll keep fighting to stop Newman Media from going after Billy. And of course, Adam doesn't like that. He's his father's son. So there's trouble in paradise, let's be clear, between Chelsea and Adam. And he may also sense that Chelsea has unresolved feelings for Billy. Because if you remember, Chelsea didn't want to break up. She kept fighting to get Billy to forgive her and to reunite, to stay with her. And it would be kind of ironic if Adam lost Chelsea to Billy because of residual feelings the same way Nick lost Sally to Adam. All those unresolved emotions. And Young and the Restless could eventually send Adam back to Sally because a lot of fans really like them together. Could Daniel Romalotti be Sally Spectra's next love interest on YNR? Alright, number 3 is somebody who would be totally new as a potential pairing for Sally. That's Daniel Romalotti, Michael Graziadei. He is going to need some romance once his heart heals after losing Heather. And Daniel and Sally, Courtney Hope, would be a couple that Young and the Restless has never tried. I think Sally and Daniel could be really fun and kind of a refreshing change of pace. They're both creative, so that might work. Plus, Daniel is still looking for a new career path, and Sally might be looking too if she leaves Billy because she would also leave her job. So, she and Daniel might be good collaborators on some creative project together. I think it's a possibility. Something to think about. Sally and Daniel could be cool. Newcomer Holden Novak. A fresh romance option for Sally on Young and the Restless? Alright, number 4 could be fun, but also out of nowhere. Imagine Sally with hunky newcomer Holden Novak. Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, could appreciate it if Holden gave up on Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, and started looking at Sally. Despite Damian Kane, Jermaine Rivers, offering Holden that job in LA this week, we all know the guy's going to stay in Genoa City because Nathan Owens is on contract on Y&R. And let's face it, Hold is way too hunky to leave single. And Sally's gorgeous. She's in a relationship with an unreliable guy who is bound to screw up soon. Plus, Audra would probably appreciate Sally taking Holden, Nathan Owens' attention off of her because she's happy with Nate. Heck, Sally's pal might even set her up with Holden. Outside society, her breath fogging in the cool Genoa City night as she wrapped her coat tighter around herself. She didn't know whether her trembling came from the cold or the chaos of the man she'd somehow let twist his way back into her life. Billy Abbott. Billy the Prince of Chaos. Billy, the man with a heart of gold. Lined with warning labels. Billy, the man who had promised her stability and then, surprise, thrown himself headfirst into a Newman war again. Sally had tried, truly tried, to convince herself that this time he was different. That this time he wouldn't let the family power game swallow him whole. But every time she looked into his eyes lately, she saw a spark she remembered too well. The spark of a man who loved the fight more than the woman standing beside him. And Sally Spectra was tired of being the woman on the sidelines. She deserved to be someone's priority. Someone's first choice. Someone's peace. Not their emotional support parachute. Tonight, though, she had agreed to meet Billy. One last conversation, he'd said on the phone. His voice had sounded earnest, apologetic, maybe even hopeful. But Sally knew better. Hope with Billy came with fine print. Just as she reached for the door, someone called her name. Sally. She turned, and nearly exhaled in relief. Chance Chancellor. The man who'd been steady when her world cracked. The man who'd listened without interrupting. The man who'd made her laugh on days she couldn't remember how. The man who saw her, not her scandals, not her mistakes, not her tragic love story, but her. Chance walked toward her with that quiet strength he carried so effortlessly. Dressed in a charcoal coat, hair still damp from the misty evening, he looked like a welcome storm. Soft, calm, soothing. "Hey," Sally said, forcing a smile. "Fancy seeing you here." He scanned her expression with the kind of concern she had once mistaken for pity, but had since learned was compassion. "You okay? You look conflicted." She laughed weakly. "When am I not?" Chance laughed, low and warm. "Fair point." There was a pause. One that felt strangely intimate. The kind where both people have something to say but aren't sure who should be brave first. Sally shoved her hands in her pockets. "I'm meeting Billy." "I figured," Chance replied gently. "You don't look happy about it." "I'm not unhappy," she argued. Then sighed. "But I'm definitely not happy." Chance didn't press her further. He never did. He let silence speak until she filled it on her own. "He wants to talk," she said. "Try to fix whatever this is." Chance nodded slowly. "And do you want to fix it?" Sally opened her mouth, and realized she didn't have an answer. "Chance," she whispered. "I don't know any more." He stepped closer, enough that she felt the warmth radiating from him. Enough that her chest tightened with memories, late-night coffees, unexpected confessions, the way he touched her hand once and then pulled back like he wasn't allowed. "You deserve clarity," he said. "And someone who brings peace. Not confusion." Sally blinked hard. "Billy isn't bad. He's just complicated." "Complicated," Chance repeated softly, "is not the same as right." She swallowed. "And what's right?" Chance hesitated. For the first time since she'd known him, he looked unsure. Sally, he said quietly, I'm not going to interfere with whatever decision you're trying to make. But I'll tell you this. His eyes locked with hers, steady, earnest, unshakably sincere. You don't have to settle for chaos. Not when you could have something real. Something healthy. Something that builds instead of breaks. Her breath caught. Chance. He shook his head. I'm not asking you to choose me. But everything in his eyes said he wished she would. I'm asking you to choose better, he said. For yourself. A silence fell between them, one heavy with unspoken possibilities. Then suddenly, the door opened and Billy stepped out, catching sight of them instantly. His expression twisted. Part surprise, part jealousy, part irritation. Well, well, Billy said with forced charm. Didn't realize I was interrupting. Sally stepped back, her heartbeat fluttering. Chance didn't move. Billy, we were just talking, she said quickly. Billy's eyes narrowed. You look pretty cozy for just talking. She opened her mouth to reply, but stopped. She stared at Billy. Really stared. The tension in his shoulders. The defensiveness in his tone. The same accusatory edge he always used when he felt cornered. She suddenly felt exhausted. Billy, she said softly, this is exactly what I'm talking about. His brows pulled together. What? This, she gestured between them. This chaos. This suspicion. This drama. Billy scoffed. So what? Now you're taking advice from him? Chance stayed silent, but his expression hardened protectively. This isn't about him, Sally said firmly. This is about you and me. Or the fact that maybe there is no you and me anymore. Billy stepped forward, frustration etched across his face. Sally, come on. Don't do this. She felt tears burn behind her eyelids, but she didn't let them fall. I can't keep dragging myself through the same patterns, she whispered. I can't be the woman waiting for you to pick me over whatever war you start next.